Good morning and happy Tuesday, guys. Welcome to the Builders Best Practices call. Just as a reminder, we hold this on the first and third Tuesdays of every month. The purpose is basically to talk about agent attraction and what that looks like for you and everyone else. Casey is currently, hopefully, landed in Spain. She has a trip this week, so I'll be covering the call today. Rick should be joining us a little ways in. Oh, yes, that would be awesome. Thank you. One second. Let me do this really quick. Thank you, Debbie. Appreciate that. So Rick should be jumping on in just a little bit. However, I did have sort of an agenda in mind because I'm on a coaching focus today because I have coaching calls all day today. But if you have something that you want to talk specifically about, please post that in the chat. If there's something specific you want to talk about with agent attraction, is there anything urgent that anyone feels like they want to start with respect to building your rev share line, your downline, agent attraction, anything there before I jump in? I'm open. No? Everybody's good? Okay, excellent. And feel free to come off of mute at any point. Ralph, you came off mute. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was typing, but so besides having more leads and more relationships, which is the easiest part of it, but what happens like when the relationship starts to kind of like die, or you like they know what you want, you know that they know, and yet we're still stuck in this like limbo of like
you're dancing with them.
yeah, well, I mean, like we're dating them anyways, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we're doing, but then we're just like, okay, like what's going on?
Okay. Oh, I love this question.
Need a last call.
And I have the best last call for you, depending on where they are. Okay, so great. We're going to put that on the to-do. Anybody else? Oh, hang on. Nobody? Feel free to come off mute. This is a collaborative conversation today.
Do we have a DSH for agent attraction?
I have an old one for recruiting. You could use it from Workman. You want me to throw that in there?
I would, because trying to come up with the points, I give myself a lot more points than I probably should.
Yep, here, hang on. Let me see if I can just download it right now while we're on here, and we can do that. That's a great question. They have had one in the past because I used to do recruiting, quite a bit. So that is a really great question. For anybody who doesn't know what a daily success habit is, we have those through Workman Success, which Rick and I are both master coaches with Workman. So we coach clients all over the country, right? A daily success habit tracker is basically just this form that lets you keep track of how many calls you're making, how many contacts you're making, how many of those lead to appointments. And it was primarily designed initially for lead generation for sales business, right? And then as team leaders started recruiting more and we started building teams out, we decided that there was the need for a recruiting daily success habit tracker. And it was like, okay, because when I was running a large team in New York, I was no longer in production, right? I was just handing the leads out to the team. And most of my time as far as lead generation was spent on agent attraction and bringing people into the team. So we created this way of like, hey, how many calls did you make today? How many contacts did you make today? How many appointments did you set today? How many people did you sign up, right? And you started earning points that way. So that was a great question, Sherry. Hang on. I'm going to pull that up right now so I can throw that in there. There it is. I'm going to come over here and do all the things in the background. Anybody else have something in particular that they would like to talk about today before I move forward? Will Higgins, I see you there. Sherry, good morning.
Good morning. So I feel very insecure reaching out to some of the agents that I follow on Facebook that are high producers. And how do I get one of you to reach out to them?
Well, you should be starting that conversation, obviously, but if you want it to go from there, we have our third-party validation calls that you can set up through Empire Builders Pro. All of our Calendly links are in there. So once you've made that start, right, you've had that introduction and you say, hey, I'd like to introduce you to someone already within the company, and, you're starting to make that introduction. Our Calendly links are all in there. Rick is in there, Casey's in there, I'm in there. Jeff Gonzalez, who's on this call, is in there. Jeff and I got that done a couple weeks ago. We laughed about it a lot. There's that opportunity is in there, so that if you feel like you need help and you want to take that conversation to the next level, all of those are in there. Does everybody know where that is? If
I
not,
do.
okay. Hang on real quick. I'm going to share my screen for anybody else who's on the call who maybe does not know where that is.
Thank you.
Yep. Let's do this really quick. Okay. When you go to empirebuilders.pro, guys, you see you have all of these fabulous tools here. All of these things up here at the top, right? Under agent attraction and recruiting, you can come down here and schedule your 3-way call. When you come here, it gives everyone that you can utilize. And this accesses our Calendly links, right? So you could immediately go in and schedule a call based on our availability inside of our calendar. Any of us are available here to do that. So if you're having a conversation and you say, hey, I'd really like to take this up to the next level, you want to have one of us assist you with that call. And if you don't know what 3-way calls are and those third-party validation trainings, please, please, please go down here, come down here, right? And go through this and learn what that looks like and what that means and how we help you with that. Okay, there's a lot of, if you have not been utilizing this part of our website, please do that. Builders Bootcamp, all of these videos that Casey did that are in here. This is an incredible opportunity for you to see how we've done this in the past and how Casey has helped people build this line and work on agent recruiting and agent attraction. Okay, so utilize what we have here. It's a powerful tool, very powerful tool. All right.
Selena, you all moved in?
I am. And I'm finally sitting still for a hot minute.
Yeah, I want to chat. I talked to Rick, I think yesterday or the day before.
Oh, good. Good, good, good. Yeah. Reach out to me.
Mhm.
I sent you my link a couple times.
Yes. But again, I had to talk with Rick and I'm kind of on the same page as him. So
That's okay. That's all right. I get it. I get it. All right. Hang tight 1 second, guys. I'm going to put that recruiting daily success habit in there for you. All right. Anybody else have anything urgent that they'd like to put on the agenda today? They're like, oh,
yes,
yeah. Well,
just keeping the pipeline full. I think that's what I'm running into, just keeping the pipeline full.
good. Okay, great. So here are the two major ones I have, and Will, yours goes right into what I wanted to discuss this morning. And then, so it'll be the pipeline full and what that looks like. And then Ralph will go right into what's happening when the relationship's starting to fizzle. Like we're dancing, but it's really slow dancing and we're not moving forward. Okay, so we're gonna go through that. All right. Will, I'm so glad you brought that up because I've been feeling pretty strongly about this. As you know, Rick and I are both coaches, right? So at this point, I coach a lot of big brokerages across the country, and most of them are talking to me right now about recruiting, right? And that's just something that they are spending a lot of time and energy on, mostly because they're not worried too much about production. We've got them kind of on a set it and forget it plan within their groups, and they're doing all of our training for that anyway. And here's what I've found. If you are not looking at agent attraction and recruiting and what this looks like as a job, if it's not on your calendar, if you're not looking at it as lead generation like you do for listings and buyers, you're not doing it right. Okay? If it's not there and it's not purposeful on your calendar, is it really something you're working on? Because it's just sort of out there and nebulous and you're like, I probably need to work on that this week, right? So you have to look at it the same way you're looking at listings. And some of us have a hard time focusing on that. Am I doing my lead gen every day for listings? Am I doing my lead gen for calling buyers back? Am I doing all of that? You have to look at both of these. If this truly is going to be a pillar of income for you, just like having sales production is, it has to be on your calendar. You have to actually be working it just like you work your sales production. And that means like back when I was doing this in New York, that was on my calendar. When my sales team was lead generating and we had power hour and they were making those calls, I was making recruiting calls. So I was doing my own lead gen at the same time they were doing lead gen. We were all in Power Hour, right? Because it was important and it had to be on the schedule. And I had the same goals that they did. Number of calls, number of contacts, number of appointments. Same thing you do for lead generation, right? How many of you are actively spending time on your account? Like it's on your calendar. You're like agent attraction, boom. Who here? Oh, Jeff.
It
says
will be
maybe.
after this call.
Yeah. 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 Like we're not thinking about it from that perspective. It's sort of back here, right? We're like, oh, I'd like to build. Ooh, more people would be nice. Oh, I'd like to get a listing too. It sounds okay. It sounds good. It's not on your calendar. It doesn't exist. Okay. If you're serious about it, put it in there. Decide. Is it a nebulous number? Oh, I'd like to build my line. I'd like to have some rev share. Okay. How many people? Guys, when somebody tells me that, whenever I'm coaching them, one of my favorite stories of all time, and it's sales related, but it's going to tie back. And I was coaching a team and one of the buyer's agents, she was fairly new. And she was like, on her business plan, she was so excited to tell me, guys, that one of her lifelong dreams was to take her family to Paris. And I just loved the story, but she was like, I want to go to Paris. And I'm like, oh, I love this idea. Okay, great. How much do we need to go to Paris? And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, well, when do you think you're going to go? She's like, well, I probably can't save up enough money to go for probably like 3 to 5 years. It's probably 3 to 5 years. It's a lot of money. There's 5 of us. It's a, it's a big trip across, got to cross the ocean. I was like, okay. Well, how long are we going? She's like, I think a week. I'm like, okay. Are we flying coach or are we flying first class? She's like, ooh, I don't know. Probably not first class. It's expensive. I was like, it's a long trip. You probably want to go first class. Let's talk first class. Okay. So we're looking at first class. I'm like, there's 5 of you. Where are we staying? I don't know. Are we staying in an Airbnb? Are we staying in a hotel? Is it 4-star? Like, are we taking it up a notch? What are we doing? I don't know. What are we doing? Are we going to like go to the Louvre? Like, what do we have on tap here? I don't know. I said, so basically you have this goal, you have this plan, you want to do this thing. We don't have any idea how much it cost. It's just this nebulous thing out there, but you feel like it's 3 to 5 years away from reaching it. I love the goal. Come back to me in 2 weeks when you've done all the research. I want you to go. I want you to find out how much the flights cost. I want you to find out what hotel you want to stay at. I want you to find out every little detail of this entire trip. Come back to me and tell me how much it cost. She comes back with the number. I said, great. Now tell me what your average price point is where you live. She tells me, I'm like, okay, you're on a team. I know what your splits are. Here's your average commission that you take home, right? She's like, okay. So I sat down, looked at it, did the math. I said, terrific. You think maybe you could sell 4 houses? And she goes, what? And I said, just asking, do you think you could sell 4 houses? She goes, yeah, I saw that already. I said, you think you could sell 4 more houses this year than you did last year? And then what you have on your goals here? She goes, yeah, why? I said, because that's how many houses you'd have to sell to go to Paris with your family. 4 extra houses. She'd never done the math. The goal was so nebulous, guys, that she'd never done the math on what that looked like. So when you say, I want to agent attract, that's it. I want you to instead say, I want 5 extra people in my front line. That's a different story than I'd like to recruit every now and then. I'm thinking I might want to bring some people on. I think I want to make my organization 100 people by December 31st. Okay, it's a different story when there's a number attached to it, because now we take the number, we work backwards. That's what I did with her, right? We figured out what the amount was. We figured out what the average price point was. We figured out what her commission was. I was like, 4 houses, you can sell 4 houses. Like, seriously, a 20-year-old kid can sell 4 houses. Like, guys, this is what I'm talking about. Right now, you have to be intentional about the lead generation behind it. So who here has a set number? Anybody here have like, this is the number I want? Will, come on, I know you got a number.
Oh yeah. My goal this year was 20 new frontliners.
Okay, where are we?
I have 17 more to go.
Okay, all right. So you see that, guys, the number is important because when you see it, now you can start like saying, oh, 17 more to go, 16 more to go, 50. Anybody here challenged all the time, like gamify what you do? Anybody else? No, oh, Mike's like, maybe. Oh man, I'm like my biggest competitor. I'm like, it's on like Donkey Kong over here. Somebody gives me a call. I'm like, let's do it. This is what I'm talking about. So when you say, I want 20 new listings, you're looking at that as a number. Why are we not doing the same thing with agent attraction? It has to be intentional. You have to be thinking about that number, because now that we have a goal, you're actively thinking, am I doing something today that's getting me there? Whatever that is. Did I make a call today? Did I get belly to belly with somebody? Did I spend time on it? If you don't actually have a number or any kind of goal in mind and it's nebulous and there's no real definition to it back here, you're not going to be intentional about it. You're just not, because you haven't defined it. You haven't said, hey, this is where I want to be by this day. Right? It's like we have to like work at it. And then from that point, so this is another thing, I think we talked about it maybe a couple calls ago. I'm trying to remember if it was this call or another one. You got to look at this as like a top 50 with it as well. Sherry loves this. We did the top 50 with that on one of our other calls, right? And I want you to sit down and I want you to think of 50 people as soon as you can. Like 50 people, and there is a spreadsheet for it, and I'll share that link in a minute as well. 50 people that you're like, if I could have this conversation with these 50 people, and I could get in touch with them, and I could share with them the story about what EXP could do for them, these are the 50 people I'd want to talk to. And then you start pouring into them. Okay. The top 50 in lead generation is you're talking to them at least once a month. Same thing on agent attraction. Out of the 50, I want you to pick your top 10. These are like, if I could get these 10, life would be good. Okay. I want you to think about those 10. Then I want you to take those 10 and I want you to type it up on Google Docs or whatever it is in the biggest font that you can fit 10 people on one page. And I want you to print it 10 times. And I want you to put it everywhere. I want you to put it on your bathroom mirror. I want you to put it in the car. I want you to put it on every door you have to walk out of. Debbie knows what I'm talking about here. Everywhere you go, those 10 people's name. If you have one of those giant Post-it note things that Casey and I love to use, put it on that. 10 people, as big as you can write it. Every day, if you see their name on the list, you're thinking about those people every day. You are being drawn to it and you're like, oh, got to think about that person. And here's what I want you to do. On your MLS, if they're in your MLS, set up hot sheets. Every time they go into contract, every time they get a new listing, every time they sell something, I want you notified. And then I want you to text them or call them and tell them congratulations. Oh my gosh, that listing is amazing. Oh my gosh, you just sold another one. This is incredible. This is like pouring into the 10, guys. You got to set up reminders where you're like, these 10 people, if I could just get them into this, if I could just spend time with them. And the way you're spending time with them is recognizing what they're doing. They're probably not getting it where they are. They're probably not getting it where they are. If you're all of a sudden getting all these notifications, you're like, dang, you're killing it over there. That listing's freaking amazing. Chances are their own people aren't telling them that. All of a sudden you are, and you're paying attention and you're like, oh my God, let's have lunch. Let's talk about this crazy amount of business you're doing right now. I love it. Just saw that you went into contract on 3 houses. What? You know, the guys, this is how this starts. But if you see their name every day, now you're like, these are my peeps. These are going to be my tribe right here. It's like we think about it. It goes on a list and then it's like, maybe in 2 weeks, you'll remember. What if you got up every day and there was no way you couldn't see their name? Because it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And you're like, oh, got to call them. Oh, got to call them. Oh, I didn't check in with them this week. I'm going to call them right now. It's about putting it in front of your face, right? Anybody have any comments or anything they want to say? Everybody's so quiet today. No.
I just put in the chat, it just seems like other brokerages, and this is not all brokerages, I'm kind of making a blanket statement, but I realize that there's some that are different. It just seems like everybody's so competitive.
Yeah.
And so when somebody does good, you'd kind of like, when I was at my previous broker, like you didn't really want to congratulate them because, or, you know, because it was like, it was competition. That other agent was competition to you, you know, and instead of being collaborative and everybody working together, which I have never felt collaboration like I have here at EXP. And that difference between competitive and collaborative, I think is huge, absolutely huge. And I mean, that's a huge plus just in and of itself for agent attraction, is the collaboration and the resources that we have being within Rick's organization. I mean, good Lord, the website alone has so much wonderful, relevant, awesome information at our fingertips. It's almost like a no-brainer for us to just follow the plan.
And then that's what we designed it for, right? It's like to be able to go in there and utilize it that way. Jeff, you have something you want to add?
Oh, yeah. To Debbie, you know, that's all being competitive with caps and no caps. I mean, if it was all about money, everyone would be at Big Block or eBroker, you know, so it's getting in front of the people to share that story and that collaboration. I think that's why the three-way Zoom or, you know, lunch meeting shows the collaboration. It's not just Debbie or Mike or Will, you know, it's a group effort, especially getting them to events. I know Will and I always see each other at events and help each other, you know, hey, you got to meet this guy, you know, and he in LA, he had a cool guy, you know, and it wasn't a sales pitch or anything. Oh, you should hear Jeff's, you know, my Jeff likes it, you know, so that's the huge. But as far as like you're saying the notepads, I think that's the one thing that I've been really good at. I'm old school. So I do have a CRM and all that, but I keep a notepad with everybody on it. Kristen's on the call. She was on this for 10 months. And then I have a big whiteboard. So I have my buyers, sellers, leads. And I think, you know, timing, sometimes people might come on right away, but very rarely. I mean, it's a year, 2 years if you keep staying in front of them. So it's almost like door knocking. You know, you knock on a door, the guys might not be ready for a year, 2 years, but you stay in front of them. So that's kind of what I've been good at, is organizing that. And so once you get that pipeline, just like a seller or buyer leads, now you have people to follow up with, even if it's not about EXP, just seeing how they're doing. I'm meeting with two ladies today, one that I've been talking to for over a year and a half on a deal that I did that didn't go through. But she was really cool, and we've just stayed in touch, and now she's ready to look at it. And another gal that is through another agent that, you know, she owned her own brokerage. She just shut down the office randomly when we reached out again, just to see how she's doing. So it's almost the perfect time, you know, and that's been a year as well. You know, she just, oh, I wasn't ready to look at it, but I'm ready now. So if you don't have those conversations, you know, I think that's another thing that some of the bigger builders are good at. Whether you're in a deal with them or not, or in a networking event, it's always, how do I bring that up, right? My dad always taught me that. And I was like, you got to bring up real estate. People are talking about it. So with another agent, I have to, in a nice way, bring up EXP somehow. Whether it's a quick little blurb or why I went, or yeah, you know, checking this out, you might get shut down right away, but you have to bring it up, because if you never bring it up, they're not even thinking about it. And there's a lot of good agents that do a lot of deals that don't build, that don't have any agent, and they can easily talk to every single person that calls on their listing, or when they're calling on somebody's listing. You know, I think that's the mindset, is you've got to be ready to talk about EXP 24/7.
Like an elevator pitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for sharing that. So, Will, that's what I mean when you were saying keeping the pipeline full. That's what you have to look at it as, right? You have to have that list of people, and then it has to be on your calendar. You're like, here's what I'm doing today to lead generate in this way, right? You've got to say, am I doing actionable things that are going to, you know, normally we say, are we doing money-making activities for a sales pipeline? Are you doing money-making activities for an agent attraction pipeline? You've just got to like take the mindset that you had for sales and duplicate it, and think about it in the same perspective this way. And most of the time, people just let this drop right off their calendar. And they're like, oh, well, if I happen to see somebody, well,
Can I share my so here's my pipeline. So I basically have it, I have it. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Oh, all right. So I have it where when I open an escrow with an agent, they go here. When I complete the cross sell with them, they go here. When I have that initial convo, they go here. And then I progress them to a 3-way call, then signed when they join, and then when I complete the onboarding, when I post them and everything else. So that's kind of the process I run through.
I love it. And we use Trello for something similar, right? It's like,
Yeah.
who's this, and we're moving them along.
Yeah.
But this is what I want you guys to start thinking about, is like intentional time spent on this task is going to equal the production side of this, just like it does with listings, just like it
Mhm.
does with buyers. Take exactly what you have to think about with, ooh, business is down, what do I need to do? You know what to do. Like you literally know what to do. And then just put it in the same shift as agent attraction. We talk
Yeah.
about pillars of income. This is just another pillar of income.
And Selena, I think what people are missing is, people will quickly say, oh, I can just go out and sell another house, right? And yeah, you could, but it's not, I heard this, it's not if you're going to get to the point where you can't do this anymore, it's when, right? And I even asked this to Glenn, when I was on his call. I asked him kind of why he created it. And he said RevShare is because, most teams are not profitable. And in order for an agent to essentially stop producing one day, there's really nothing out there for them, right? So this provides leverage. So for example, in my case, RevShare this year was 20% of my total take home. But as I progress, it will become more and more and more. And then 3 to 5 years, I won't have to produce anymore. And I think that's what people are missing.
I would agree. I was just on another coaching call earlier, and I said something that to the team I was coaching. A good friend of Rick and I, Christy Buck, says, as an agent, you wake up every day and you're unemployed. Okay. So this is what RevShare brings to the table. You don't have to wake up every day unemployed.
Yep.
So
and there's levels to it, right? Like, so I like to say I'm in level 1, where I'm able to use my RevShare to basically enjoy life right now, right? So all my mortgage is taken care of, my car notes are taken care of. We don't have to go to the grocery store anymore. We can order that. We can hire people to clean the house. I'm not rich with it, right? But I'm quote unquote financially free. And I think that's the true benefit of RevShare.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I wanted to take away from was, please, if you're not looking at this like you are looking at it with your sales business, and it's not on your calendar, you're not putting it in as lead generation time, and you're not waking up unemployed every day and saying, what did I do today to create movement in this way on this pillar of my business, then you better get started. But it starts with, what's the goal? What do I want? Don't just say, I want to build RevShare. Guys, that doesn't count. It's like, yeah, I want to do a lot of things. But say, is it the number of people? Is it a certain amount of money? Is it a number, whatever that is, right? I'm not going to tell you what goal to set, but I'm going to tell you it needs to be defined and then work backwards. Okay, if it's 10 people, how many people do we have to talk to every day to equal the 10 people? Right? Because you've got to start calculating. And that's what that daily success habit tracker is for, that I put the link in there, guys. It takes you to our Google Drive. The recruiting daily success habit tracker is in there. So if you actually click on that link, it'll open it up. Yes, Sherry, it's in there. Yeah, got it. If you want to start tracking, it's just like doing daily success habits for lead gen. You can be like, when I call 20 people, I set 3 appointments and 1 person signs up. When you start knowing those numbers, you're like, I'm calling 20 people every day. Because now you know it. right? You know it. It's the same thing when, for anybody who was on my call with Aaron Wittenstein a couple weeks ago on the Free Friday coaching call, like he knows 27 no's equal a yes. Like that's how good he is with knowing his lead generation numbers for calling expireds and FSBOs, right? So when you get that good with recruiting, you're like, okay, when I talk to this many people and I get belly to belly with them, and then I know when I get this far into it, they're going to join. You start to gamify that because you're looking at your calendar and you're like, no matter what, this lead gen time for this is going to go in because I know it's going to equal one person signing a month. And if your goal is to get 12 people this year, that's all it takes. But the only way to do that is to set a goal and then start working towards it and knowing what your numbers are, because everybody's conversion numbers are different, right? We all have different level of skills when we're doing that. So, but you get better and better, obviously, right? So we start out kind of a little bit slow as we're learning it. And then as we get improved and we get better, all of a sudden are like, oh, my conversion just got really good. I only have to talk to 10 people to get somebody to sign. This is freaking amazing. So that's why that's in there. So if you want to get really good at that, use the daily success habit tracker, print that out and start tracking that. You can throw it in a Google sheet after you're done, give it to your VA. If you have one, don't do it yourself. For those of you not leveraging appropriately on the call. But give that to a VA and say, hey, I'm going to send this to you every day, a picture of it. I want you to throw it in a Google sheet. And then you're like, I know exactly how many people I have to call and exactly how many contacts it takes for me to get one person into my org on my front line each time I do it. That's what starts to happen. So, hi, Mr. Jihad. There he is. He's coming out of an appointment. And Rick, if you want to,
How are you guys doing?
I just need to follow up on something for Ralph too before we finish up. But why don't you share your story about what you've been doing to build the pipeline from your side?
Yeah, really quickly. I don't know how many of you know what's going on, but you all know how the system works, that if you have FLQAs, it opens up levels, but if you just have FLAs, it's kind of like it's the sizzle without the steak. Okay. I think that's the best way I can put it, is that having a bunch of FLAs helps you make some rev share, but if they're not FLQAs, you're not opening levels. And so Casey and I enjoyed about probably 8 months of having all 7 levels opened until the market shifted. And then literally we went from having 43 FLQAs with 61 FLAs. So 61 total people. And we went all the way back down to 26, which means we were even threatening losing level 6. And it obviously affected our check dramatically. And I said, okay, I got to get busy, but I didn't. What I did is I got busy making time for lead generating around my real estate business. And I wasn't, so I turned to my coach, Selena, and we said, okay, we're going to diversify. We're going to do different things. Well, man, starting the second week in January, I became a lead generating monster. I didn't even know this was in me. Part of it was my prioritization. My word for 2023 was prioritize, because I kept being like, you guys know the word when you go squirrel, you know what I mean when I say that, squirrel, like I'm just getting distracted, right? Mike, you know what I'm talking about. So I decided I had to prioritize, and I did, and it ended up
Rick, we lost your sound for a second.
Okay, am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, so this was the very first time in 10 years that I went a whole quarter, the first quarter, without taking a listing. Not one. Okay, so, but let's look at the bright side. I prioritized lead generating for recruits, and I did a great job. Selena got me educated on Trello in December, and we started using it. And then because I was working more alone, I started using sticky notes, much to the chagrin and shock of both Selena and Casey, my 2 very powerful high D women that I surround myself with all the time. And then, but when Selena and I would meet, we'd get on Trello and she'd help me, because I have all of those sticky notes right in front of me. But the sticky notes help me because every day I'm staring right at them. As I'm staring at my computer, I'm staring at all these sticky notes, and I'm remembering to follow up with everybody every day. I've never seen something that works so well for me. And then it can work for Selena and Casey because every once in a while Selena will get on Trello with me and together we'll input it all so it's there in an organized fashion. But guys, I got to tell you, if you will just make the commitment to, like, I just love recruiting now. I'm doing it all the time. Like, you would be surprised how many recruiting appointments I've gotten just out of wishing people happy birthday. Nothing other than that. Happy early birthday. We always send it to them early, and then they respond. If they respond with just a "you're welcome" or "thank you," I say, "You're so welcome. How are things? How's life, health, business, and family?" And if they answer, it triggers them. I'm working on 3 recruits right now just because of birthday wishes. So, like, there's so many ways to connect with people. And now I'm not shy. Like, I just recruited this lady to EXP, and she's in another network marketing company. And she came to our event, and she's not like recruiting to EXP. She just came to EXP recently, and she picked up 3 network marketing appointments she's in an organization called WFG that does financial services. She's like a maniac. I'm like, she's asking everybody. I go, I got to ask everybody. I got to ask everybody. So I'm not saying this like I'm doing it and you're not. I'm saying it like I fall into the same traps we all fall into. I just decided to freaking prioritize. That's it. And Will said it so perfectly. Will, I came on when you were describing that your mortgage payment is paid and that you're like, and you said it's not where I'm rich yet, but I got to tell you, I had a lady last night, very good example. I've been working on her for a while, and we had one more plan because her business is having some trouble because of she doesn't like her partner. Her business is doing very well. She does flips and development, and she does all kinds of stuff. And she's just like, I don't see any benefit to EXP, Rick. I want to work with you. You're the most amazing guy I've ever met, And she's like my kid's age, my son's age. And so nothing was working. And she said something about, how's your real estate business going? I go, good. I said, I had one of my worst first quarters ever. And she goes, well, you don't seem panicked about it. I said, well, it's the rev share income I was telling you about. She goes, wait, the rev share income? Like, all of a sudden I saw an opening. She goes, the rev share income? Because she's taken all the personal development courses I've taken and everything. So I feel like I'm really close to her. I go, my rev share income, are you open to me sharing with you? I just did it like that. Like, I'm shy to share my number. And I lean in and I go, Dash, it's 6 figures a month. That blew her the hell away. Like, you never know what's going to be the trigger. But then she had walked to the restaurant where we met and it started raining. So I said, I'll drive you back. She didn't stop talking about how excited she is about EXP now. Before, she said there's no common sense for her now because somebody she knows makes 6 figures a month, and then when I told her what my sponsor makes, she about shit. So anyway, so you never know, but you never know. Just keep working.
There was also a turning point for me, a guy I just recruited, and he, I'm asking him about, what made him come or why didn't he reach out to me? And he said, man, I would watch some of your stuff and I was wishing that you would reach out to me.
Wow.
And it's just like, why their ego won't let them reach out to you. So you have to call them. So that's what I'm going through now. I have, over 8,000 followers on Instagram, with most of them being realtors. And I just haven't reached out to them. I haven't reached out to all of them. So now I'm just reaching out to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I say one swear word on this call, Selena?
That would be the second one because you already did.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for keeping track. But the first time I went to a big event, do you guys know who Don Hobbs is? He's really big in EXP and he's been here longer than me and he's got a huge organization. So I go up to this, I go to this event in Orlando. It's a couple years ago, and I see him and I kind of go headed over towards him so I can say hi, because I knew him at Keller Williams. I knew him before that. And as I'm walking up, he says, "Oh, fuck," like that, just like that. And I said, "What's wrong?" And then Allison, his girlfriend, comes up afterwards and says, says, oh, that's what he keeps saying as he finds people he never called about EXP who are now here. So, so Casey was with me and I introduced him and Allison, and now Allison and her are best friends and everything, but she said, oh, wow, you got to get on the phone. And I said, well, I'm already on the phone. She goes, no, you got to get on the mall. She goes, we don't want to have any oh fucks. So, and Will, once you get that, I mean, it's going to happen anyway. This company's growing so fast. You're going to
Yep.
see people, you know, but man, if you see people, you know, and you never called them and you had them on your list to call, man, that's going to hurt like crazy.
Oh, you know, it's
So-
already happened. It's already
Yeah.
happened.
That happened to me on this call. Bill, you recruited a kid that played football with my son, Justin Johnson, the sweetest kid on the face of the earth. And I
Oh,
love him.
hilarious.
If you talk to him, tell him Miss Pelham said hello.
Will do.
He was one of my favorites. His dad coached my son in football for junior All-American football. And I when I saw the name, because for some reason my eyes when you shared your screen, my eyes went to his name for some reason. I'm a proofreader also, so like I have a hawk eye on documents. And I saw his name and I went, wait a minute, he's at EXP? And I looked him up on Facebook because I know we're friends on Facebook. And I've talked to him about his real estate career and everything. And if he had any questions, he could always call me. And I saw that he was with EXP and I was like, oh, good for him. Good for him. So
You just had that moment. You just had that moment. You're like, man.
Yeah, if you're not talking to him, somebody else is.
yeah.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Rick, for sharing that. I appreciate that a lot. You know, it's something that we work at every day, guys. We're like literally like, I mean, this is like I'm printing out like all the work that Casey and I did while we were there the other day. Normally this is a giant piece of paper. It's at Rick's house hanging on his sliding glass door, but I took a picture of it. Like these are the people. And this is leading into my conversation for Ralph. Guys, Ralph, when you're having the fizzle start to happen, you're talking with someone, you're meeting with them, and all of a sudden you feel like maybe it's not moving forward and you're like, hey, we're slow dancing and it got real slow. Okay, what's next? This is our invitation list for the Build Conference right now. Everybody who's already in our org, but green is everybody that we want to personally invite. Okay, that's the next step, is an invitation. Get them to an event. Get them there. Okay, it's
Yeah.
so powerful. There's just something there, but being surrounded with all of those people who have the same level of energy, the same wants and desires that the rest of us do. So if you're fizzling and you're sizzling, there's no more sizzle, we're in the fizzle. Like, get them here and be intentional about it. All right, so this is our intention list, right? Casey and I sat down and we're like, boom, 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 boom. And the list is continuing to grow as we think about people, but primarily these are the people that we're in the fizzle right now. We're like, hey, why aren't they signing? Why aren't they moving forward? Like Rick's talking to him till he's blue in the face. And I'm like, what do we got to do to get these people in? We're like, oh, we know what to do. We're taking them to build. Like that's the goal. And we're like, we're not gonna sit still until all of these folks are with us. And I said to Casey, I'm like, we're gonna be like an entourage everywhere we go. We're walking around, but I don't care because that's the goal. So you've got to like figure out what is that next step. And guys, in agent attraction, this is something I've recruited a lot, like a lot. What Rick said earlier, what happened with him with Dash is you've got to figure out what is the thing. What's the pain? What are they not getting wherever they are? Okay, because you can talk about EXP, you can talk about a million brokerages, right? And all they're hearing is want, like Charlie Brown's teacher, until you figure out the thing they're not getting. And I will tell you with about 100% certainty, we offer it.
Yeah.
Okay. You just haven't said it yet. So it took a bit until Rick said it, right? It was further on in the conversation. So far, she wasn't hearing anything that was ringing any bells for her. She was like, me.
Oh yeah, I visited with her, 8 times?
Yeah.
Easy. So
And it wasn't until there was something that he said that she was like, ding, 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 ding. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
There was something in there that was important to her. So if you're not exploring that with whomever you're talking to, absolutely, yes, you want to talk about EXP. But people don't want to be salesy, but you've got to figure out what it is that they're missing. If they took the call with you, if they took an appointment with you, they're already missing something. They're just not willing to just throw up on you and tell you what it is most of the time. You got to dig a little bit deeper. It's something. They're not getting support. They're not getting mentorship. They don't get enough training. They're not making enough money. They don't understand. They're not getting coaching like what we offer, you know, through all of the stuff that we do, right? Whatever it is, they don't have an option like rev share to consider agent attraction and another pillar of income. Like you've got to like dig. But that comes in conversation. And the only way to get the conversation is to purposely lead gen towards agent attraction. But sometimes it's not the first call. It's not the second call. Look at Rick, 8 conversations with her of like, meh, nah, 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 nah. And she's like, I'm not sure. I don't really need anything. And then boom. Okay. You just got to find it. There's always a reason when they start talking to you. There's something in there that whenever they agree to take the conversation, in the back of their mind, they're agreeing because they're not getting something where they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, and a quick story, and I'm gonna have to get out at this appointment, but Selena called me last week and something had happened. A fire got lit under her butt. I had nothing to do with it. But she was the highest D I'd ever heard her be. And she goes, this is it. We're done. We're getting to 40 FLQAs. And she goes, okay, Rick, I'm going to drive 2 hours if necessary to go with you to any appointment. I'm opening up my laptop at the appointment and getting them signed in. And in my mind, what happens first is ego. What? You don't need to come with me. I can close my own appointments, right? And I was going on an appointment that evening with a lady that I'd visited with 4 times. And she goes, no, that's what I'm going to do, Rick. I've got your calendar. I'm going to go in and I'm going to start showing up at your appointments and you're going to introduce me as your coach and your business partner like you always do. And I'm going to get them signed up with the company right then. She took my reaction on Zoom as if I was mad, and I wasn't. I just come back from Dr. Joe Dispenza for a week and I was feeling really like I'm not in reaction anymore. And I started to absorb it. I thought, okay, this is Dr. Joe said things will show up in your life unexplained. And so I'm like, okay, this is the unexplained, right? I just got to figure out how it's going to work. So I went to the appointment that I had with my laptop, which I don't usually do. I usually take my backpack, but I took my laptop, and while I was sitting there with her, I got her to start the account and start the ICA. We didn't finish it, but that was so much farther than we'd ever been. So, and now she's ready. She's all ready. She's closing her last deal on Friday because they reduce her commission to 50% if she leaves before a deal closes. So she's sticking around, and then we're getting going. So from Selena saying, that I can come and open my laptop and get them closed and move on. And I was like, well, if she can, I know I can. And maybe I can't, but that's okay too. It's okay if it takes help. That's why we have running partners and uplines and helpers and all this stuff, is to do that. So use the help as much as you can. So that's it. That's
Thank
my
you, Rick. Thank you.
testimonial, and I'm sticking to it.
All right, go to your appointment. Thank you for joining.
Rick, are you still coming this way this week?
Yeah,
Thursday?
I'm going to be, well, Thursday, where am I going to be? Thursday morning, I have a call from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m.
Long
I'll be in Studio City. No, Wednesday I'm in Long Beach. But Wednesday is all taken. But Thursday, I don't have a lunch. I have a lunch at 11:30 in Studio City, and I have a call from 7 to 8. If I can get to you and do that and be back by 11:30, I'm all in.
Okay.
Are you there?
I'll call you after your meeting. I'll call
Okay.
you after your meeting.
Well, call me after 2 today, because I'm going to be back to back till then. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay, guys. Good to see you all. Bye-bye.
Yeah, he's not kidding. I literally called him up and I was like, this is taking too long. So Ralph, a lot like what you were saying, like, I was like, okay, you're talking and talking and talking and nobody's signing. Like, what the heck, man? And I'd had it because, like, he's not wrong, guys. When you go from 25 FLQA from 40 to 25, the money's a lot different. Like, imagine going from what they were earning to what they're earning now. And it was like, you know, and it's not even my money. And I throw up about it. I get really serious about it because I run their business on both ends. And I was like, I'd had it. He's talking to a million people. The man has gone to more breakfast, lunches, and dinners. I'm like, it's a miracle he doesn't weigh 400 pounds because he's at so many appointments. Like, but nobody was signing up. And I was done. I was like, no more. Selena's coming to the Bay Area. I'll move into your guest room. And Rick, I'm going to every appointment with you. And I'm coming with my laptop. And we're just signing them up right there. Because I don't know what you guys are talking about, but nobody's closing. And I'm a closer. So I was like, either I'm going to move in or you're going to start closing them. And he was like, and he did look mad, guys. He looked mad. And I was like, oh, I pissed him off. I got him a little upset there. I hit the ego button. And afterwards he was like, you're right. I've had 6 guys. He just said it. 8 appointments with the woman he met with last night. 8. You know? And I was like, I don't have time for this. We're getting to 40.
That was the approach that was used with me. I mean, I already knew I was going to join, but I was trying to delay it because I was afraid. I was like, what am I going to do for money? I need to have this much money in the bank before I can move brokerages because they're going to mess with my checks. And I didn't want that whole fiasco. And so I was like, give me 90 days. And the person that was the liaison in my organization, that was the onboarder, he was like, no, I'm not giving you 90 days. And I said, what? I'm like, yeah, you are. How are you going to tell me? He's a younger guy and he's kind of, you know, we had kind of a casual conversation. And he goes, what's your email? And he's typing in my name. He typed in my phone number. He typed in, I go, my email is selimapelham@gmail.com. Why? And he's like, okay, and what's your mailing address? And I was like, what? And he started asking me all the questions. He's like, boom, there, you got 30 days to move your license. And I went, wait, what?
Yeah.
I was in my own head about why I wanted so much time. And it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I did
Can we
just
talk
fine.
about that? Yeah, can we talk about that, Selena? It is the weirdest thing I've noticed. When someone's coming over here, they want to check with their attorney. They want to
Oh my
double
God.
check all the paperwork. I have never seen that. And they just walk into a KW and sign up.
It kills me. I'm like, who do we have to talk to? Like, they'll be like, I have to talk to my husband. I'm like, I don't know. I do
Yeah,
whatever.
I will say when I joined like 2 years ago, the whole check thing and waiting for your check was not as smooth as some of their other departments. There was a few, because I'm a transaction coordinator also, and for some reason they didn't want to recognize my transaction coordinator checks. And so, I mean, one of them took me almost 3 months to get. And so hopefully that's improved, but I get that whole thing with your check. And one of the girls that's in my organization now, she waited almost 8 months. And I go, you do realize that you don't have to take 65%. You do realize that could have been an 80% split on that one. You do realize that the next one could have been 80% too. You do real, and I kept doing that to her and she's like, ugh.
Usually we can work through whatever it is, right? It's usually whatever is happening inside their own head.
The first thing
I got a question.
the first thing she told me after she'd been here for like 2 months was, why didn't you let me do this sooner? And I was like, are you kidding me? You were the one stopping it. I was telling you. And she's like, you needed to force me to do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's with your voice?
Go ahead, Jeff. I've only got 5 minutes.
Yeah, so I'm running into, and it's been like that all the time, but not all the time, but a lot, obviously producers that always have something in escrow. And I know Keller now, some C21s, they're like, they know EXP's just,
Yep.
you know, gobbling up at almost their agents. So they're not releasing any of their listings, right? So that's what's been held back for me. I've got a couple really big hitters and trying to figure out how to do that. I know Rick had mentioned, you know, if there's somebody in the area, kind of go on that listing appointment or buyer appointment or take that, write it. They got to be trustworthy, of course, and then either take 100% commission referral, whatever, something. So that's kind of like where I'm stuck out with a couple big guys and women right now.
Well, remember, if you've got big producers or you've got teams or brokerages or whatnot, we have liaisons within EXP that we can work with and see if there's something that we can do that lines that up, right? So we
Mhm.
brought in a couple that was a very high producing team, and that we kind of had the same thing, right? So we got the liaison involved on the front end, and we were like trying to determine what was that right moment, right? Based on what their agreement was with their prior brokerage and what it would be whenever they came in. And we were able to pull the trigger on when it made the most sense. So sometimes,
Who's the liaison?
so we have like a broker integration, team integration people, and all of those, I find them through Workplace. So if you need someone, let me know, because Rick and I have like a list of our people. Like that.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's funny. A guy's texting me right now.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, the C21 won't let my listings go. And I got a couple, and at least they have a cap, and so I just mess with them right now. I'm like, yeah, but what about your, franchise fees and marketing
Franchise fees.
fees, doing the same thing Debbie just said, and this one and that one.
Yeah.
We've ran numbers, a lot of these C21 people, even at the 90%. I ran this one gal's, and she would make on their average commissions about 15K, 650-ish. They would make an extra, I don't know, I can't remember exactly, grand, 12, 1,300 on our, with the fees and everything flat. On our 80-20 to their 90, they would make an extra, let's say $1,500 for their 4, 5, 6 deals. And then they would make what, 5 grand more, 4 grand more. So it's crazy the numbers, on top of the opportunity at EXP to grow something in stock.
I did a comparison. I used to TC for a guy that did about 80 to 100 transactions a year by himself with me as his TC. And I did a comparison of the previous year's numbers. He had 82 sales. And I don't know what his commission split was, but I know that the brokerage doesn't do more than 90% usually. So I did him at 95 just to see. Did a comparison of all of his numbers with the E&O cap, with all of that, because he did a high volume. He was paying almost $100 per transaction for E&O insurance. So there's $8,000. So he saved $7,500 right there, right?
Yeah.
So I did a comparison with the sales at an 80-20 split for his first couple of million in sales, then at 100% with the transaction fee. He made like over $500,000 GCI that year, but he would have made almost $600,000. It was like a $73,000 difference in commission that he would have kept and not paid to the broker. And I'm like, you could have paid me a full-time salary.
Yeah.
That
Think about a truck.
$70,000 would have been a very nice full-time salary. That would have paid for me.
On those high producers too, there's one in our area, he does 80 to 100 and he's with big blocks. So they're a flat fee, right? They pay $3 grand up front. So, I mean, it's nothing, they don't see, whatever, but the, their fees are like, I don't know, $200 or $300 a file. So when you're doing 100, even, it's even at a $3,000 cap, so to speak, it's still paying more, especially at that level.
He told me he wouldn't come to EXP because, well, what about all my signs? $500,000 a year, get new freaking signs, bro. Come on.
Funny what we put the block on for, right?
He takes his listing photos with his iPhone too, I'm sure.
He does.
Okay, guys, I have to wrap up. I'm sorry, because I have a 10 o'clock call. Key takeaways from today. All right. Lead generate for this. Do your top 50. I shared the link there in the chat. Okay. Download that, the top 50 spreadsheet, put your 50 people in there and then choose your top 10. But there you go. She's already got her daily success habit tracker pulled out. Choose your top 10, put that list everywhere. Those are your top 10 people, right? Those are the people you're like, I want them. I'm going to get them. Okay. I'm going to go into the MLS and I'm going to make sure that they're producing and I'm telling them, great job. Love it. Love the listing. Congratulations. Whatever that is, pour into them. If you have a relationship that's fizzling, get them to build. The link is on our website as well under resources. We have the link to build in there to register. Okay, guys. So all that information is there. Point them to our website, show them where that is, but get them there. I'm
Real
telling you.
quick, Selena,
Yeah.
with the build thing, are you guys after they register, then you buy their ticket? Because I got burned last year by buying tickets, and like the day before, the two guys canceled on me.
Very interesting. Casey doesn't feel very strongly about buying their tickets. She wants them to have money in the game. So
Yeah.
Rick will do it for some folks, but for the most part, we tell them to put their own skin in the game and they buy their own tickets.
Okay.
I brought 2 people last year and I bought their tickets. They paid for their hotel and I bought their tickets.
Uh-huh.
So that's a risk though.
Yeah, I think that I'm gonna reimburse them. I'm gonna have them show up, and then
Show
I'll
up and then
reimburse them
reimburse
once they get there. Yeah.
All right, guys, I have to finish up. I'm sorry. It was a
Thank
great
you.
call today, guys. Thank you for all of the collaboration and all of the involvement. I really appreciate it. Go lead generate for this, but set the goal.
Jeff G. Holla
Bye.
at me.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.